Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Good Saturday, I guess, evening, not quite night. David, how are you?
I'm good, Kurt. I like the. I don't like the West Coast games where we're up till 1 or 2 in the morning getting all this. That's not my favorite thing on earth.
Yeah.
But so I like the afternoon game. Sorry, Kurt, for screwing you up. I gave you the game time. One of those brain glitches with working out time zone stuff. Well, I was thinking it's an hour later in BC, so it must be 3 p.m.
Yeah,
that it
Dave
starts.
said it was
No.
3 Pacific, so I tune in to hear the pregame show, and Cam and Bob are calling the game. It's like, guess I got some catching up to do. So that's my fault. I should have checked. So
I'm always iffy on the time zone thingamadoo.
It's easier when you live out here. You're calculating it all the time.
Yeah, that's true, eh?
Yeah.
Living in a country where most of the country's up and going before you guys get up. So
100%. Yeah.
All right. Kurt, a 4-0 win by the Oilers. And they really needed that. I would have been surprised if they lost this game. Anything's possible because there's not much separating NHL teams. But the Oilers were a desperate team to win here. And they did. They won 4-0.
Yeah, the note I made after the first period was these guys look pissed off and determined. And I thought they stayed pissed off and determined all game long. And it took them to this point in the season to look like that for a full 60 minutes. A lot of water under the bridge, but this is just one game. But if they approach most of their games the way they approach this one, they'll be fine. But let's call the spade a spade. That aspect of their game has been missing for most of the season up until today.
Yeah. By my count, they've had 3 other games, similar games, where they've had outstanding defensive performances. That's not enough. And they need to get on a streak where they put together 10 games in a row where they get this kind of effort on defense, this kind of conscientious effort on defense. And I noticed a lot of times, the thing I noticed the most, Kurt, was the Oilers in the offensive zone were keeping one man high. And we're doing it conscientiously / religiously. I really noticed it with Matt Savoy.
Yep.
He actually helped stop the dangerous chance in the first rush in the first period by being the man back. There was a bad pinch by either Ekholm or Nurse on the play. I can't remember. Must have been Nurse because Regula was also on the ice. And he was there. And this is where the guys haven't been there, right? Like they've been too keen to get in on the attack, sneaking in, thinking, I'll get that goal, which is a tempting thought. But they were there all game long, pretty much. And for one of the first times this year, Kurt, I didn't have that sneaking feeling all through the game that this was about to slip through the Oilers' fingers, the lead. I thought that no, they're getting this done. They're playing their positions.
I completely agree with your assessment of the forward high in the attacking zone. I'll add to that, there was also almost always a forward low in the defensive zone. And that gap between defensemen and forwards, which we've been talking about for a few games, shrunk tonight. The Oilers defense made a lot of 5 and 10 foot passes tonight, which there's a lot of games this season you could have counted them on 1 or 2 hands. So I think the club is way more connected defensively on both ends of the ice.
About bloody time.
Yeah, right. For sure.
It's starting to get like so frustrating to watch.
Well, that's why I say it's just one game and a streak. Hey, a streak starts with one game, right? So let's see where they go from here.
Let's just go check out the standings first thing here, because neither of us have it as our number. But okay, so the Oilers are now, Kurt, get this, they're tied heading into this evening's games, which could change things. They're tied for the last wildcard spot with 27 points. They have now both
we played more games though,
Utah
right?
have a game in hand. Just one game in hand though.
That's not bad.
As bad as it's been with the Oilers, the league there's so much parity in the Western Conference right now.
Yep.
that so the Oilers have, and they're just 1 point out of third place in the Pacific. Vegas has 28 points. So it's been and LA 29 points. And the team leading the Pacific has just 31 points. So the Oilers are just 5 points out of first place in the Pacific. Now, every other team ahead of them, except for Utah in the conference, has a game in hand. But yeah, it's interesting how the standings have worked out this year. There's no really team dominating things at all in the Western Conference.
Yeah. And 5 straight games at home, as my father used to say, it's time to make hay when the sun's still shining.
Excuse me, there is a team dominating the Western Conference, just not in the Pacific Division. Colorado's dominating. They have 42 points in the conference in 25 games, an 840 point percentage,
but not in the Pacific, I get you. Yeah.
Not in the Pacific. And Dallas has a 720 points percentage in the so Dallas and Colorado, who fortunately will have to face each other in the playoffs.
That's too bad.
We looked very far into the future, too far.
Yeah.
And for a too far look into the future, there's the tempting, that's the happy piece of information. Kurt, the grade A shots were actually 13-9 for the Kraken, but the subset of 5 alarm shots were 3-2 for the Oilers. There wasn't a lot of really great shots in this game by either team. But I'm going to say it was the main difference was power play. There was a lot of power play chances, especially on the 5-on-3. There was 4 or 5 great shots for Seattle on the power play.
Yeah, I didn't think the Kraken were much at. I didn't think the Kraken were much at all 5-on-5.
No score effects. Also, the Oilers were sitting back somewhat, a little bit. They didn't have to put the pedal to the metal, and they were playing safe hockey. And Seattle didn't get a lot going. Kurt, 2 good things, 2 bad things, 2 numbers. What is your good thing?
My good thing is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. On a team that has Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on it, it's easy to forget sometimes just how important this guy is to the overall success of this club. Missed the last 8 games with a suspected head injury. We're not really sure if it was concussion related, but no one said it wasn't. Came back into the lineup, looked fresh as a daisy, looked like he really had jump. And the thing that you always say about Nugent-Hopkins you saw tonight, and that is he touches all aspects of the game. He had a goal and an assist. He was a part of the 2-for-2 power play. He played 4 minutes and 37 seconds on the PK tonight, which was a perfect 6 for 6. In addition to all that, after the McDavid and after the Draisaitl lines roll out, all of a sudden you'd see the third line come out, and out would come Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' line. That's a whole different pickle for an opposition team to deal with. You just finished fighting off the McDavid line, the Draisaitl line. Now you got to fight off the Nugent-Hopkins line. That's tough, right? He's not a superstar like McDavid and Draisaitl, but he's a damn good player. And on a good night, he has the ability to drive his line. And tonight, playing with 2 real smart veterans, Matthias Janmark, and Adam Henrique, that trio was effective. So lest we forget that the longest serving active Oiler is a critical part of this hockey team. I think you saw the difference when he was back in the lineup tonight.
And Kurt, I'm just constantly reminded of both of us being worried and critical of Nuge early last year and having real concerns that, he's maybe lost a step. And since that time, his point scoring was down dramatically last year.
It was, yeah.
There was some reason to be concerned, but he's taken a step in his game, which I never expected him to take, and that is by becoming the best defensive center on the Edmonton Oilers and a really just period good defensive center.
Yeah.
He's was always pretty good positionally, but he's now stronger and more ferocious.
That man Nuge strength.
He still looks like he's 18, man.
He does.
It's great, good for him.
Yeah.
But it's great to have a handful of players on the Oilers who all year, like Henrique, has been playing good defensive hockey all year long, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
few others in Nugent-Hopkins. So you got to have them. And actually, when I saw the third line tonight of Nugent-Hopkins, Henrique, and Janmark, I thought, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
There's like whatever else happens in this game, I'm 90% confident there's going to be one line out there which is going to get it done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Checking the opposition, and they did that. They didn't allow anything.
Yeah.
They
Three really smart players, hey?
Yeah, shut it down completely.
Yeah.
And I love Nugent's power play goal. You know, we track grade A shots, which go in about 20 to 25% of the time, and 5 alarm shots, which go in about a third of the time. Well, that was like a 10 alarm shot because it was so wide open. Like there was 2 absolutely fantastic passes. First, McDavid making that low high pass to Bouchard, and then Bouchard kind of a little bit faking a shot and
then the seam
turning
across,
with his
right?
eyes, and
Yeah.
then just whipping it across the seam to Nuge. What? And so he did everything right in putting it in the net. It's easy to blow that too, but that's a 50% shot, like if not more, in the NHL. Like that was as good a putt as you're going to get almost.
And I think a big factor in that puck going in is because he's a veteran. A lot of guys would have hurried that, right? But he didn't. He sensed that he had time, took his time, and buried it. And that's what good veteran players can do.
So we've talked about the Oilers having a really strong game on defense, and they did. But Stuart Skinner was also really good in net. And there was a couple moments in this game where the Oilers could have been very 25, 26 season Oiler-like and given up the lead, but he did not allow that to happen. And the play, there's 2 sequences that come to mind. The first being the 5-on-3 power play. There was a really interesting interview with Devin Dubnyk, who was a very comes up a lot in the context of Stuart Skinner, because Dubnyk also had a good start with the Oilers, a really good start for a few seasons, and then he didn't do well and he got traded away. And one of the things he said was that when he was with Arizona and with Sean Burke drilled him on one simple thing: moving and setting, moving and setting, moving and setting. So you move to stop and then you set. And he said he was worried about Skinner because Skinner right now, there's a lot of kind of bit of chaos in his game. And I think what he was seeing was Skinner not moving and setting. So I was actually watching tonight for that, and he really did a great job of moving and setting. Now, part of that, there wasn't a ton of seam passes, but Skinner tracked the puck extremely well all night long. And on that 5-on-3, there was late in the first period, there was about 5 shots that were difficult shots, and he made them all look simple. No rebounds, none of those ugly rebounds that have plagued him recently. So I don't know if he was listening to the Devin Dubnyk advice and spent the week doing those drills, but apparently Sean Burke just drilled Dubnyk relentlessly until he got that down, until that was his game. So that's what I saw with Skinner. There was another breakaway, which is it was also my bad thing. So I'll just segue I'll just cover 2 things with one point here. The play starts. The puck is deep in the Kraken end of the ice, and they break it out pretty fast as the Oilers are in the middle of a line change. But Evan Bouchard should not have been changing with Seattle having full possession of the puck, or close to that. He misjudged it. The play comes back up the Oilers' ice, and Berkeley Caton, who is 18 years old or 19 years old, an extremely fast hockey player.
Kid can fly, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he broke in on the power play and had a really good chance too, but he just gets going on the attack, and he bursts right up the middle. Darnell Nurse, I didn't fault on the play. I didn't think he had a chance to get. Bouchard was too late getting off the ice, and Nurse tries to get back. Alec Regula who is on the other point, and should be the safety valve when the puck's coming up the other, his partner's side of the ice. He should have reacted a little bit quicker, I think. He did get back and harass Caton a bit, and I think that actually helped on the play, but it was a very dangerous breakaway and caused by a bad line change. But there was Stu Skinner. He made the save, and there was a number of tricky situations. It wasn't a night of high danger, but there was lots of tough plays, lots of tricky situations. And he looked like the goalie we've seen when he gets hot and has stretches of play that you think, oh yeah, the Oilers have found their starting goalie. That's not the case right now, though, Kurt. All week long, there's been endless rumors about who. We've gone from Jordan Binnington to Tristan Jarry to Laurent Brossoit with seemingly credible rumors or speculation about each of those goalies to the team. And Stuart Skinner shut down that talk for one night at least.
Agree with everything you said. Few comments. I think you can assume that if the Oilers leg an egg tonight and Stuart Skinner doesn't play well, that's maybe his last game as an Edmonton Oiler. I don't think it's overstating it, right? Just the way things were, the way things were tracking. So for the kid to come up with a shutout, small, right? and I have to say, while on one hand, I think it is absolutely fair game to ask tough questions of NHL players. Like it's the people taking out on Jim Matheson for asking Stuart Skinner tough questions.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that's Mr. Matheson's job. Like, if the people have never been a reporter, just don't get that. But that doesn't stop me from feeling bad for Stuart Skinner, because here's a guy who all he wants to do is win a Stanley Cup for his hometown team, and half or more of the fans want him run out of town, and look, his play hasn't been good enough. There's really no one to blame but himself. But when in the middle of that storm, for him to come up with a strong performance like this, you got to take your hat off to the guy, because you can just imagine the pressure that was on him going into this game, because he has no room to move, right? So good on him. He was named the game's first star. Nugent-Hopkins, by the way, the game's second star. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. And by the way, I won't pretend to have had the move and set term in my head. But what I can tell you is that when goaltenders aren't too busy in their crease, rebounds tend to either stick to them or fall right in front of them. And that's what was happened with Stu tonight. I agree completely. There were very few rebounds and very few dangerous rebounds tonight. And I think that's because when the puck was hitting him, he was standing still.
I should say that interview with Dubnyk, if I didn't make it clear, was on the 100% Hockey podcast with John Shannon and Darren Millard, which is an excellent podcast. They are particularly good at asking concise questions and then listening. So props to them. I want to address the thing with Jim Matheson, because I want to frame it for people, or explain why I, at least, and you agree with this, why I think it was completely appropriate what happened. And not only appropriate, better than that. Like, it's a necessary part of the process. When you're a writer for a publication and you're going to put something in the media or online, or the least you can do if you're in a position to do it is to give the person you're going to be criticizing a chance to respond.
Yes.
It's actually a legal requirement. If people are writing, if you're going to write something really negative about someone and it's going to be out there for everybody to read, if that person sues you, if you haven't asked them, if you haven't given them the chance to respond, the legal liability increases dramatically. Yep. You must, out of a sense of fairness and a sense of legal responsibility. So all over the online world, people are savaging Stu Skinner left, right, and center. Not one of them has given Stu Skinner a chance to respond. They can't. They can't call him up. We can't. Like, the cult of hockey, we're not offered a press pass. That's not how the Oilers want coverage of the team. They want they don't want bloggers getting press passes. So we're not in a position to ask it. No one is. So people are used to venting about players. And then for them to get mad at Jim, I think they don't understand. Jim also has a relationship with Stu Skinner. He sees Stu Skinner all the time for years.
Yep.
And he's able to put things to Skinner in a conversational way, in a different way, which wasn't even that jarring. People are saying terrible things about Stu Skinner. People do want him gone. What do you think, Stu? That's all. That's gotta hurt. Yeah. That's kind of how he talked to people. That's fine. There was nothing. There was nothing wrong with it.
I'd like to add two more things if I can. Important context here is there have never been fewer independent reporters covering the NHL than there are today.
Yeah, most of them work for the teams.
Increasingly, there's reporters who work for and are paid by the hockey team. I'm not saying they aren't good reporters. Our friend Bob is often more critical of the Edmonton Oilers than any other reporter, and he comes right out and admits he works for the club. But to have an independent reporter who doesn't get their dime from the hockey team to ask those questions, if you don't think that's valuable, you don't understand the value of journalism. So that's the one thing that I want to ask. And the other thing I want to say, look, Mr. Matheson doesn't need me to defend him. But let me suggest that Jim has forgotten more about hockey than most people know. And just every so often, it might be a good idea to observe the way he does his job and listen to what he has to say.
I've worked with Maddie for years, because I'm a blogger, I'm not around the team, and that's not my role. But we're in contact a lot, and Jim's often critiquing things that I have to say, which is good, which is part of the process, which is fine. And but he's always been, when I think of all the people who do that work, he is the biggest. He is a gentleman. And a great guy. So
if people don't know that about Jim, he is. I know I've said this on the podcast. I'll be real quick. When I covered the Blue Jays for 3 seasons, for most of those 3 seasons, I sat right beside the legendary Milt Donnell.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I got the phrase, he's forgotten more about baseball than you know. And when you're in a situation like that, you just shut up and listen because you learn so much just by osmosis. And I put Jim in that same category.
So in the summer of 1984, I was a summer student at the Toronto Star. My first job out of journalism school. And it was a great job. And I was in the sports department. I wanted to be a sports reporter at that time. And there was Milt Donnell in that sports department, and he had a golden phone. I don't know if it was real gold. I doubt it, but he had this gold receiver on the phone, and he was. I didn't have much to do with him, but he struck me as also like one of the fine people of journalism, and there are many, but he was one of them.
A true gentleman, a true pro. Yeah.
A last thought on Stuart Skinner. I conducted a poll, Kurt, because there's been all these rumors. So on social media, on X, I conducted this poll and I asked, which goalie is the best bet for the Edmonton Oilers this season, factoring in acquisition costs? Because that's an important thing to think about.
For sure.
So there actually are real comparisons now. It's just not Stuart Skinner against some mythological great goalie. There's actually goalies we can think about how much they cost. There's Jordan Binnington, who's $6 million a year and would have a high acquisition cost. Tristan Jarry, who's $5.375 million a year and was almost sent to the minors last year. He's been up and down with injury. And there's Laurent Brossoit, who was a really good goalie for 2 years in a row in a backup position, but then has been out for almost 2 years with a hip injury. There's still time to vote on this poll, and I see Stu's numbers slightly, because Stu Skinner was also an option. Who's the best bet? He was the fourth option,
right?
So 25% of people mostly voting before tonight's game, voted for Stu Skinner. 27% for Binnington, 33% for Tristan Jarry, who's off to a really hot start. He's got like the 8th best save percentage last time I checked for a goal in the NHL this year, and 14% for Boissois. If the Oilers were to move for Binnington or Jarry, it would be the only big move they could make this year. That's it. That's their move. And I mean, we talked about this before. I think both of us were kind of leaning in Binnington's direction, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to admit, Kurt, my leaning in Binnington's direction is not completely rational.
Huh.
He hasn't been that great in recent years. But what's the reason I say it's not completely rational is stuck in my head as a narrative. And it's the Dwayne Rolofson narrative, where you'd make a trade for the veteran goalie, and it's that veteran goalie who takes you to the Stanley Cup final. So that's what I have, that kind of, when I think of Binnington, that pops in my head, even though the two situations are completely different and the history doesn't repeat. And, you know, the situations are far more different than they are similar. You know, as they all, like, I think by definition, situations are more different than they are similar, because it's different, completely different league, completely different players, personalities. So, but that's what I would like. I guess I'd like to see a pairing of Binnington and Skinner, ideally, but I don't think they could do that cap wise. It would be very difficult, at least. I guess it's not impossible. But
well, here's my 10 cents, probably closer to 50 cents. If you're going to get a number one goaltender, he better be able to play. That sounds overtly simple, but with two of the three options, external options that you mentioned out there, there is no guarantee that they'll be able to play night in and night out, because they've had injury problems. And even if you start talking about the guy in Vancouver, same problem. If you happen to put Thatcher Demko in your poll, same problem. There's zero confidence that he can play night in and night out. I think at the end of the day, the best option for the Edmonton Oilers is for Stuart Skinner to play the way he did tonight. Because then from a performance and a cap standpoint, it's a significant advantage. And if you look at tonight, 5-on-3 Seattle power play and the Catton breakaway, those were two key moments in the game where the game had not been decided yet. It was 1-0 and 2-0. Both of those could have swung the game. But Skinner was really good on the 5-on-3 power play, and he stopped the breakaway.
I have read that Jarry has injury problems, and I'm assuming that's fair and accurate information. So, but he has played. So last year, between the AHL and the NHL, 48 games. The year before, 51. Then the year before, 47. Year before, 58. So, but there has been a drop in his performance in those years.
And the word is it's injury related. Yep.
Yeah, that's so maybe he's healthy again. I don't know. But I think it's a fair point to make, like, that it's, you just don't know what's going to happen. So you have to be careful. You know, they already have Connor Ingram, who was in the players assistance program last year.
Yeah.
And then to go, like, Boissois tempting, because I think you could get Chicago to eat half the salary for not much, maybe, if they'd be willing to do that. Depends if the owner wants to save some money, but
he hasn't even been able to be a backup goaltender for 2 years. Like, how is that an upgrade? I'm sorry, it's a major gamble.
You'd keep Skinner.
Yeah,
and
I just think we're kidding ourselves here. It's if you're going to improve the goaltending on the Oilers, okay, fine, go out and get a number one. And as average to below average as the guy in St. Louis has been this year, he's the only guy on that list who I would say, okay, he's a number one NHL goaltender. He's the only one on that list.
And that's what you said last time we talked, and you're sticking to it. And
at least I'm consistent. Nothing else.
I have the same feeling, although, man, I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm not sure it's the right idea.
The best bet is Stu playing the way he played tonight.
The best bet is the Oilers playing defensive hockey the way they played tonight, and then Stu
it's
Skinner
part
will
and
be
parcel,
fine.
right? Yep.
It really is. They need they can't win. Listen, they can make the playoffs somehow, fumbling their way in, but they cannot compete for the Stanley Cup. They
No.
cannot compete for a Stanley Cup unless every player deep down in his heart and soul makes defensive hockey his number one priority on the ice.
Yeah,
And that's from Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Evan Bouchard on down.
you're
They
right.
have got to lead the way. And
Because in
they will
short
not.
series,
Yeah.
poor defensive play will eat you up and spit you out.
Did against Florida. It has twice in a row. Like Florida, and the Oilers played strong defensive hockey in the playoffs. Eventually, both playoff series. I mean, they were really good last year in the second and third rounds. They just started to crush it defensively.
Yep.
And they sure haven't done it this year. So great to see. Kurt, your bad thing.
My bad thing is the officiating, and I want to state right off the bat, it certainly didn't have a major impact on the outcome of the game. I don't mean to suggest that, but it was really a shoddy game of officiating tonight. And I gotta say, anything that could be called against the Oilers tonight was, and there was a lot of things that could have been called against Seattle tonight weren't. It really didn't seem like a level playing field at all by the Zebras tonight, I gotta say. And as much as I said, well, it didn't decide the game, it could have, because I just finished talking about how pivotal that 5-on-3 power play was tonight. Well, Brett Kulak's stick never touched the Seattle Kraken player, never touched him. Yet they called that and put the Oilers, down on a 5-on-3. There was a lot of instances tonight where I thought they correctly called the Oilers on the too many men call, but they totally missed. They totally gapped on a too many men call against Seattle. There was no call on Darnell Nurse having his helmet ripped right off his head. Like, what the hell, man? It didn't decide the game, but if the NHL officiating guys that oversee that department are doing their job tonight, they're going over some tape with the guys in stripes, because that wasn't their best showing.
I remember one play where I can't remember which Oiler broke up the ice. Oh, Mangiapane, and Montour basically grabs him and throws him to the ice, grabs him around the chest and throws.
Grabbed him
That is a
and
penalty.
chucked him down. That's two penalties.
That was a terrible penalty. Like they give these ticky-tack stick fouls often. Listen, I do think this, Kurt, that the referees made a terrible call on Mason Marchment early in the game.
The interference call?
Where Lazar pushed him into the goalie, and they called March. I don't think it was a penalty. That was on Lazar. And I think the refs spent the rest of the game trying to make up for the fact that they totally abjectly blew that call. So for the rest of the time, it was like, you're right. And they more than did it. They just, Seattle couldn't score. But
not for the lack of trying from the officials
after that and non-calls, which were ridiculous.
Yeah, it was nuts.
My gut feelings.
Well, and you know what? I'll add on the Marchment thing. Yeah, Lazar did push him, but Marchment certainly didn't go out of his way to miss Stu Skinner. I gotta say.
Well, that was a karma moment for Mason Marchment. You injure our good player in the playoffs, you're going to get that kind of call against you.
There you go.
You deserve it. Kurt, what is your number?
My number, 29 from 29. Leon Draisaitl in 14 career games against the Seattle Kraken has 29 points. 29 points for number 29 in 14 games against the Kraken. Look out, Seattle. He's coming.
I thought there was a couple iffy goals from Joey Decord. Draisaitl shot from the high slot. If it was anyone but Draisaitl shooting it, I'd blame the goalie. But it is Leon Draisaitl shooting it, and it's like
3-time
some
50
players
scorer.
get a little bit more mustard and a little bit more deception on their shots.
They do.
So, and then McDavid's goal. I loved the two plays leading up to the goal. First, Matthias Ekholm wins a board battle in his own zone. Then Zach Hyman totally angles the guy, seals him off on the boards, and steals the puck, rushing up the ice, putting it into McDavid. But from there, I don't know what Decord was doing. Like, he kind of went down on his butterfly and skidded across. The net was wide open.
It's almost like he slipped and fell. No disrespect at all to Connor McDavid, but Dave Snapshot Staples might have scored that one.
No.
No, come on.
No. Alrighty. I did score a goal last week, though.
Hey, good for you, Dave. I haven't scored a goal in a long time, but I also haven't skated in a long time. So
Pounded it on net and picked up the rebound and put it in.
look at
So
you, up where the
yeah,
mama keeps the cookies.
it
Or
was one of those. No, it was one of those 10 alarm chances where after the goalie went down, he wasn't moving over to get it. Now the goalies that I play against are 75, but some of them can move pretty well. I got to say, some of them are amazing athletes for 75-year-olds.
The
So.
last goal I scored, I was playing in a charity game for the Calgary Flames alumni, and they were short players, so I was playing with them that night. And I scored 2 goals that night, but that's the last time I scored a hockey goal.
Well, that's a pretty darn good claim to fame there, Kurt.
Yeah.
Who are some of your teammates?
Jerry Pinder was on that team. Jim Poplinski was on that team. I believe Jamie McCowan was playing that game. Jerry Pinder, who if you've never met Jerry Pinder,
the agent, wasn't he? He was a great WHA player.
A great WHA player, and played 68, played for Team Canada in the Olympics.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, from Saskatoon, Jerry Pinder, one of the nicest guys in hockey, honest to God, really nice guy. The Pinders, famous.
Still active as an agent? Because I think he was an agent, wasn't he?
One of the Pinders was an agent. I'm not sure it's Jerry, because Jerry worked in the broadcast booth for years and years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but really nice guy, really great guy. And so he was on the ice that night, and a few others that I can't quite remember, but it was kind of the last hurrah for Levins's hockey career.
He'll get back at it sooner or later, Kurt.
Yeah, maybe. The ice, the water doesn't freeze very fast out here on the West Coast. So
no. He played. I didn't remember this. Jerry Pinder played 5 games in the WHA for the Edmonton Oilers in 77, 78. So he was with the Blackhawks and the Golden Seals, and was developing into a decent NHL player. 54 points in 74 games in his last NHL season. But then the big money of the WHA, which there was, it was a competitive league for money.
Yep.
And yeah, he had 4 really good seasons in the WHA. All right. No, he wasn't a Calgary Cowboy. He was with the Cleveland Crusaders, I should say, as well. All right. My number, Kurt, is the 2 5-alarm shots, which I referred to earlier, is my number. But I just wanted to stress that how rare. So if you can limit the other team to, let's say, 4 or less 5-alarm shots in a game, on average, the Oilers give up 6. So if it's 4 or less, your chances of winning are really high. And they've only done 2 or less 3 other times. Against Vancouver, they only allowed, in the second game of the season, they allowed 1 grade 8 or 5-alarm shot. Against the first time they lost to the Kraken, actually, they only allowed 2 5-alarm shots. By fairness, they deserved better in that game. But Joey Decourt was outstanding.
He was great. He was the first star of that night. I remember that. Yeah.
And against the Flyers, a game they won in overtime, they allowed 2 5-alarm shots. So that's really good defensive hockey, and that's the area where the Oilers have really been getting killed this year, is giving up the most dangerous of shots, just, leaving their goalies high and dry. And sometimes it's the goalies themselves who kick out a rebound or fail to cut out a pass in the crease that have caused the 5-alarm shots. But usually it's defensive breakdowns by often really good hockey players otherwise. So great to see the Oilers make this step forward. Baby step, maybe.
It's one game, but that's how streaks start, right? One game.
Alrighty, Kurt. Do you have some final points you'd like to make?
Yeah, a couple of really quick hitters that probably don't warrant a whole lot of discussion. But the 2-0 goal, I want to make a point of the really good defensive play that Ty Emberson made along the wall and got that puck going north. That goal doesn't get scored without him. So good for Ty Emberson on that. Zach Hyman didn't have a goal this year, and one hits him in the slot and goes in. Sometimes that's all it takes until the water really starts running down the hill again. So let's watch Zach Hyman. It's good to be lucky, but you have to be lucky to be good. And finally, Connor Clattenburg with his first NHL spat. He plowed Evans into the boards, and then when Goudreau took exception to it, Clatty dropped him pretty fast. and seemed to be quite pleased with himself as he was sitting in the penalty box. Had 6 hits tonight as well. He has certainly made his impact felt on this hockey team.
If he leads the team in hits, he can stay in the NHL, is the truth. And especially because there wasn't anyone that close either. So if he's by far the most physical Oiler player, really hard not to keep him on your team.
Yeah.
Really hard. Even though possibly better for his development to go back down, maybe kill penalties, get more ice time. But on the other hand, I'm sure he'd rather be in the NHL. So.
Right. I'm sure he'd sooner have the paycheck.
Yeah. He's thinking, I'm going to develop just fine here in the NHL.
Yeah. Hey, he's done everything they've asked of him so far. What else do you want, right?
Yeah. That goal by Hyman, just to add to your point there, I love that goal because there was some really great board battling by Draisaitl and Hyman to win the puck back off a shot on the power play. And then McDavid really made a strong physical puck protection move behind the net to put it back to the point. And then it was passed around before Draisaitl shot it and shot past and went in off Hyman. So just some really good, hard hockey led to that goal. And good win, Kurt.
Yep. Lots of good things tonight.
All right. Kurt, thanks for talking tonight.
It was fun. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.